with COVID-19 already shutting down economies in developed countries, you start to wonder what would it look like in developing countries like the motherland, Nigeria. Places like the UK, there is a lot of panic buying. Supermarket shelves are almost empty. Clearly, what this reveals is the huge level of dependency on imported food into the United Kingdom. Majority of the schools and nurseries are shut down. Lots of people are working from home. On the economy, the Bank of England has reduced interest rates initially to about 0.25% and then scrambled to reduce it to 0.1% in a last bid to save the economy, because it appears as though the economy is going down the route of a recession. But let's go to Nigeria. Now, with the number of COVID-19 cases growing and the government beginning to take action to curb the spread of the virus, what will this mean for Nigeria? What does a lockdown in Nigeria look like, and what would it be like? It's incredibly difficult to get people to obey basic traffic laws, even when a traffic warden is standing right there, let alone trying to stop people from leaving their homes. Will this mean introducing a curfew or soldiers and police restricting movement, similar to the environmental sanitation style? We all know that this obviously comes with its own challenges, as we have clearly seen what trigger-happy law enforcement officers do when given unprecedented powers. We might end up losing more people from a silver bullet than from the actual virus we are fighting. Now, assuming that this is all put in place, that there is a shutdown of public services and successful restriction of movement, what will this mean for our workforce? Is there the technology to allow people to work remotely? Are we prepared for drastic changes this will bring on our way of working? If not, this might mean people don't either get paid or that they lose their jobs. Several people have lost their jobs as a result of this, even in technologically prepared countries. So this might have a domino effect on the economy of Nigeria, as people, especially the middle class in this case, who are affected, will be unable to pay their bills and even survive. Assuming this was even in place and this all worked out perfectly, does our workforce culture believe in remote working? Maybe the big corporations are multinationals, but majority of our workforce are not employed by the bigwigs. That is, the oil companies, the telecom companies, and the banks. A huge percentage of our population live from hand to mouth. This means they wake up with 0 naira with the hope that the day's hustle will give them something to eat for that day. Some sell tomatoes, oranges, pepper, okra.
Yeah, now Benue people get yam.
Now them get that yam. And now Igbo they call iyo.
Yam. Yes. That one where you put palm oil on top.
While others push wheelbarrows and others are conductors.
The discount. 100
and others are even career agberos. And yes, this is considered a source of livelihood in several parts of the country. So restricting movement for weeks or even months will be a huge blow on their ability to do the one thing that every human being has to do, which is to survive. Stay with me. We heard the governor of Lagos State discouraging panic buying. This is kind of ironic, because panic buying only happens when the money is available to buy. Maybe the case is different for people in Lagos, but there are several people in all parts of the country where people cannot simply afford to stock up. Not because they don't want to, but because they simply cannot afford to. If the government is considering a similar type of shutdown we are seeing in places like the United States, in the UK, and in Europe, they must create a plan to cater for the most vulnerable. The UK government recently pledged to pay 80% of the salaries of those who have lost their jobs due to the coronavirus. Now, I'm not saying that the Nigerian government should do exactly the same thing. However, they must embrace the reality of the unique situation we will be confronted with if they make that decision. Now that they have sent kids home from school, they have shut down mass gatherings and public events, which, by the way, weddings are a big deal in Nigeria. It generates a huge amount of revenue weekly for the venue owners, the entertainers, the event planners, the photographers, and so many other people. So clearly, this will be biting a lot of people within that industry. So the government must make provisions for these repercussions. But it's not just the government. This is time for the church to rise up. The church has an incredible opportunity to be the light of the world in such situations, providing shelter, providing food banks, and pastoral support for people who are infected or affected by the virus. This is where we must display our culture, our ethos, where we must prove that we are the salt of the earth. It is not enough for us to pray about it. We must support those who are vulnerable. We must be the trailblazers. This is not a time for the wealthiest in society to sit in a 4x4 and watch 1,000 fall by their side and 10,000 by their right side. This is a time for everyone who is wealthy in the society to be more generous and compassionate. I think a combination of these three things will go a long way in helping us survive whatever impact this virus will have on our nation.